we talked to Ryan Kirby from the Giants. And when he was on here, one of the big points that has always stuck with me. I only do stuff if I know why.
Yep.
Like I'm not just he said I'm not going to just go.
Shouts out Ryan Kirby.
And do that back squat or do that movement because you told me so. You need to tell me why. You need to give me a valid explanation of what this is going to do to make me better. And Khai, you said something similar in pre-production when we were talking that you're the same way. You won't do something unless there's a valid reason why you need to do it.
Yeah.
And I think if athletes in general across all domains, and that includes just recreational athletes like CrossFit athletes at gyms like ours, ask why. Don't be afraid. You have Google on your phone. Like you can find out if that's real or not in 30 seconds.
Yep.
Talk to it.
Yeah, you can literally find out the truth in 30 seconds if somebody's lying to you or not. You don't have to take everyone at face value with everything they say.
Agreed, yeah.
You know, we stand by the fact that what we're doing isn't the most popular. Why? Because we don't live by those wives' tales that you need to puke every day and you need to overlift and overtrain and over-volumize everything to get better. We believe that coaching is just as important as everything else, and being really valid at your technique is just as good. And, you know, golfers are learning the same thing. Tiger Woods, how many back surgeries does he have? Fred Couples, these guys that hit thousands of golf balls a week.
Yep.
And they're starting to realize, you know, maybe if we only hit 500, we don't have to get back surgery at 40 years old.
Yep.
You know? So it's that same thing. Maybe if we just train smarter, not harder.
Yep. As much as we love to hate Tom Brady, I mean, guy's pushing 40, and he's
a cheater. Nobody likes him.
yeah.
That's enough of that.
I think that we all
At least he lost the Super Bowl.
I think we all just like to fantasize that it takes ridiculous amounts of hard work to achieve something great.
I think we fantasize about that Rocky-esque, you know, Rocky V in Russia, running up a mountain, lifting boulders and everything else. And it's like, that's really awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it looks great. Yeah.
It's badass.
Especially with Instagram and social media nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's super awesome to think. But, you know, not all of us are Rich Froning. I'm sure you probably have heard the name Rich Froning. CrossFit Games. He's won everything there is to win. But how many people can train like him 5-6 times a day, 10 o'clock at night, rowing a 10K?
Oh, man.
No one.
But if you listen to what he talks about when he's thinking about programming, he talks about, or he says, I'll think about what I've done in the past week, and I'll program it on that day based on how I feel. So his adaptation to that extreme volume is on another level, but he still focuses on the basics and looks on how he feels, how he's performed yesterday, and bases that next training day off of that.
Yeah.
And that's like Michael Phelps, too. Like Michael Phelps could train hours and hours and hours in the pool. We'll come to find out he doesn't develop lactic acid. So he never gets sore.
Yeah.
So he can spend 3 or 4 hours in the pool and not feel it.
Crazy.
So it's like, you know, he's 1 in a billion that doesn't feel it. So he could go an extra 2 hours in the pool at a time. Everybody else is trying to keep up with him and tearing their rotator cuffs and damn near losing their shoulder out of the socket. And the only reason he was able to do this is because he built up for years and years and years because he never felt it.
Yeah.
So as a young kid, he was able to
Mechanics are impeccable.
adapt to a massive volume.
He moves so perfectly in the water, too.
Yep.
There's no slop in his movement. It's perfect. Who's your favorite UFC fighter, Kai?
Right now, it's probably Dominic Cruz. I like that guy because
He's a smart player.
he's smart. Doesn't get hit a lot.
What about Tim Kennedy?
He's a cool guy. I respect what he does. But his style's a little bit more
Tim
of the
Kennedy
old
is
school, you know. So I don't know. It's not so. I like fighters who look very finesse, smooth, you know.
So no Chuck Liddell in there?
Oh, that's old school,
They're
man.
old school.
Rampage.
It's old school. You got to respect all those guys.
Fuck, I
man.
remember watching UFC. What was that TV show?
Ultimate Fighter.
Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And they had Rampage on there ripping off doors.
Now Rampage just fights for publicity, pretty much.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a guy who's lasted the test of time, though, who understood recovery back when no one else did, is Tito Ortiz. As much as that guy gets flack for everything, that dude was training up in the mountains. He'd go up to Tahoe and just train, but he only trained a couple hours a day, and he'd run a lot, and he would just do a lot of recovery stuff. And what is he, almost 50 years old, and he's still training professionally.
Yeah, actually pretty surprising. After like 12 neck surgeries on him and then like back surgery, he's actually still fighting, which is good. Well, he retired recently, though, but good for him, you know, kept fighting.
I mean, but if you watch his training, he always used to say, nobody believes me when I do what I do. And he never trained hard. He would train hard, but it was like he never overtrained. He He would spend a lot of time in high altitudes where a 2-hour training session would make his body feel like it was 8 hours of training, but it was only a couple hours, so he never beat his body up as bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he got unlucky with the next series, all the wrestling and stuff. But I mean, that was.
But he was able to fight and come back
different.
from that, you know.
Yeah,
just like Dominic Cruz, 2 ACL surgeries, and another guy recently that I keep a lot of attention to is Frankie Edgar. He's been out. Not only has he been able to compete, he's at the top of his competition for like how many years now? You know. He's stayed at the top, which is insane. And he does a lot of lifting. And surprisingly, you'd think like, oh, lifting's bad, but he actually maintains very good joints, and he's always healthy. He doesn't really get injured much, doesn't pull out of fights much. Pull out of like, 2 fights his whole career, you know? So it's insane.
Mm-hmm. We just did a recent episode where we talked about that, where lifting weights creates bone density. So obviously you're going to break less bones. Mm-hmm. It builds your tendons and muscle strength. So obviously you're going to probably tear less tendons, have less injuries in that regard.
When they hear us say weightlifting, they think we're talking about 1 rep maxes. That's not always the case.
No.
We're not trying to max out every day. That's not weightlifting.
No, weightlifting is technique. It's
what you see on Instagram,
movement.
at least.
It's building everything, right? It's building a structural frame. Like you're building a frame.
Yep, learning how to use your body as one single unit to move maximal weights efficiently.
You can tell on some of the frames on these guys, the ones that do put in that extra work. I mean, just watching what Luke Rockhold fought recently and got put on his back.
Yeah.
I mean, those are big boys. And I mean, the fact that those guys, they're competing, those are 185 guys, right?
Yep, middleweights.
And they're naturally 200 plus animals.
Huge.
And they're cutting down to 185. It's ridiculous, you know. But it's like those guys get their asses kicked and then they're shaking hands and they're friends at the end of the fight. They hate each other before, you know. It's all the hype, you know. And
it's a business.
You know, it is a business, and it's now finally a business that's paying you guys what you should be getting.
It's starting to get there.
It's starting to get there. You know, you see guys that are jumping ship from UFC to Bellator. You know, I like
UFC
following guys
sponsors.
like Joe Schilling and those guys. And you know, I live in Pleasanton, so I love the CSA camp.
Oh, cool.
You know, I'm a big fan of Gaston. That nasty spinning elbow that he has. That's a knockout. Like,
that's awesome.
Your knockout is ridiculous. That elbow, you put one of those into your mix and. Ridiculous. You know, the fight game's changing.
It
is.
Know?
Like you said, you could be the big thing, you know, representing your country. Hell, you could go to the Olympics one day, you know, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, I know we talked about where you fight out of, right? We talked about your camp.
Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu in Pleasanton and Omni Movement in Richmond.
Okay.
Gorillas off of Willow.
Do you
you
bounce around to other places to get some extra training in, or you pretty much stick to those 2 places when you have the camp going?
I think I mainly stick to those 2 places. We get invited to a couple other gyms, but mainly I get what I need and much more at those 2 gyms already. You know, Guerrilla, we have over 300 members, so just take like 10% of that. Those people I get to train with, and you know, those are the competitors. And then Omni, I get the attention I need. Same thing, you know, just they're fairly new in Richmond, but the Richmond crowd and Pleasanton crowd's a little different.
Yep.
Pleasanton crowd is a little softer, and I say that with all the respect. You know,
there's an Omni in Livermore.
Yeah, you can't argue that.
There is an Omni in Livermore. It's completely different.
It's over by I worked at the 24-hour fitness down the street from Gorilla, and I remember when Gorilla opened up, and our general manager was like, "They won't last a year." And they're going on probably.
I think we're on 6 or 7
years, and I mean. You guys have the middle school right across the street from you. You have so much.
We have over
traffic.
200 kids, I think.
It's
insane.
Huge. Those kids can walk right across the street from the middle school where they're not getting any programs and go right over to you guys.
Now, Omni, you're talking about Omni. Like, is it the same as the Omni Fight Clubs in Livermore?
No, it's completely different. Actually, that's something I just recently realized. There's an Omni in Livermore too.
Yeah.
But we're called Omni Movement. That's the gym.
Got it.
And it teaches. It's trying to teach kind of what you guys are doing, but in a martial arts mentality and form, you know, like the warm-ups. That's why all movement. That's what Omni Movement, the name is. It's to try to encompass boxing, Muay Thai, and all that stuff for one athlete to be able to go there, work with those guys. And, the owner is a kinesiologist. His name's Stephen Hahn. Very, he understands the game very well, and he trains some high level athletes. Yeah. And hopefully I get to become one of them, so he's
developing athletes instead of specialists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He's good at what he does. And I've never gassed in any of my fights. So I think that speaks for itself, I've never gotten tired. You can watch the footage, I've been able to keep the same pace for, about all 3 rounds.
Yeah, that's something we definitely realized was a weakness out here is you have a lot of specialists. You have guys that will develop themselves or coaches that will develop better baseball players or better football players. But at 15, they haven't decided if that's all they're going to do.
Exactly.
But you're making them really good and you're pigeonholing them into one sport.
Yeah.
When, for me and personally, when I was in military school in Virginia, some of our best football players went to college on a D1 track scholarship because they were okay football players, but they could run a 10-second 100-meter dash. And that's pretty valuable to a Division I college.
Yeah.
But had they've been pigeonholed and trained to be the greatest cornerback in the world, they might not have gotten a scholarship at all or had to walk on somewhere.
Yep.
And not gotten nearly the education. So for us, we're trying to develop better athletes. We want people that we could develop to be really great at any sport that they take on because they understand their body, they understand movement, they understand how to use their body properly to be able to adapt to any sport.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was working with 2 high schoolers last night, football players, and they're potentially hoping to become varsity level athletes next year, skipping JV. And, Coach Matt designed an awesome workout, and one of the kids, hey, are we going to bench press tonight? And then I was like, how many push-ups can you do in a minute? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, when you figure out that number, then we'll bench press.
Yeah, they're not that great at push-ups. Yeah. One kid couldn't do one correctly, and the other one did like 5 or 6 at a time.
I was impressed with their lower body strength squat-wise, but, there's so much. A lot of them just rely off the talent of, I play football, so I only need to be good when I'm playing football.
Yeah.
But then when I tell you to jump from one side to another off of one foot and you can't do it, and you can't land right, how do you expect to, kids are probably getting up and down off the toilet wrong, doing more harm to their bodies than good. And, I remember in high school, you walk into the sad excuse for the weight room and the workout was written up on the chalkboard and coach puts his feet up on the table and reads his newspaper and
that was recent for me. It was 2008. They still did that.
Some kids are lucky to just have that, or they get a gym membership and they just waste 2 hours, at the gym. It's like Coach Jen made a really good piece, where she used to train 3 hours, and now it's an hour a day, 2-3 times a week. And, if you train smart and your coaches teach you, the right stuff, you'll flourish in the gym. It's just like people that I do personal training with. My goal isn't to train you forever. I want to teach you all the tools to be successful at life. And then I'm still going to be your coach, along the way. But if I teach you the tools, sky's the limit, like we keep saying.
Give them a blueprint to work off of. Yeah.
So back to fighting, I've had this elbow thing in my head for a minute. I had to Google the fight, but did you guys see Matt Brown elbow Sanchez?
Diego Sanchez, yeah.
Woo! Razor blades.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty, man.
God,
elbows are dangerous.
That guy Sanchez seemed like he was just overwhelmed.
That's the thing too. When you jump from amateur to pro, because in amateur in California you can't throw elbows to the face or knees to the face. So when you jump to the pros, it may not seem like a lot, but like, could you imagine taking it like a guy charging at you, just trying to elbow you in the face as hard as he wants? It gets pretty like, you get a real shell shock. You're like, oh man, you think fighting's hard, and then you fight amateur, and then now from amateur to pro, you're like, oh, now there's elbows, because elbows could sneak in at any time.
Things change,
and then the how you want to land the elbow is 3 fingers above the elbow. It's like where you knock somebody out, and then the 3 points at the tip of the elbow is you draw blood. So that's what my coach used to say. You want to draw blood, use the tip, and you want to knock somebody out. 3 fingers below the elbow.
That's a good coach that knows the anatomy.
Yep.
Knows where the bones are more dangerous than other parts.
Because let's say this
bone.
guy's good, and you want to get him. Like it's a long fight. He's a good wrestler, so you want to cut him open, disrupt his vision. It's just tactics, But gets pretty brutal.
Learning your ground and pound. Learning how to
sneak
use
an elbow
your
there,
forearms and your elbows.
Elbows are fun.
It's a hard bone. That's why
They're fun to watch.
You can see what a guy's face looks like, or
I don't know if I want one in my face.
Yeah, I definitely don't. I'm surprised I've actually kept my face looking like this so far, and had almost 10 plus fights and so far. Yeah,
my nose is too big. My shit would look like Owen Wilson.
Well, I was like, what? Nate and Nick Diaz both shaved their eyes down, or their orbital
they had to get
sockets
surgery,
down up here because they was too sharp
much
and they would
scar
always
tissue,
blow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they had to they shaved the bone down so they wouldn't blow so bad, like so fast. Like
That's intense.
yeah,
Fucking caveman forehead.
yeah, because those guys have really impressioned eyes up here, so they shaved the bone down, and then it would stop like carving right through all the time.
My favorite Diaz moments when he's sitting there smoking the CBD at the end of a fight.
The other night, you mean?
Just
other night?
recently at the other fight, he had a rolled joint in the crowd, and he put it in his mouth, and he lit the lighter.
Yeah, and then
That's
Fox had
awesome.
to change that real quick. They're like, nope, we can't show this on
He's
TV.
just
That's
pushing
awesome.
the envelope.
Good for
Well,
him.
he
Good.
made his 9 figures, 8 figures,
He got the
whatever
money
it
he
was. So
wanted.
it's like
Yeah.
at this point he's just pining for another big fight. That's all he cares about.
Who wants to fight him? Isn't it Alvarez that keeps calling?
A lot of people want to fight him because actually, if you have the right stylistic
they know
matchup,
they're going to get paid.
you could beat him. It's not impossible to beat him. It's just he's such a tough. Like I don't know if you guys seen. He fought this Korean guy Don Young Kim, and then he also fought this Rory McDonald, who's in Bellator now.
Mm-hmm.
He got ragdolled by both those guys. Nate Diaz got ragdolled, and it just has to do with styles. And I think if you have the right style matchup, you could beat Nate fairly easy. Ben Henderson did it. I'm surprised he
And
didn't
Rory
finish him.
just won a belt too.
Yeah, Rory just won
Rory's
the
always
welterweight.
very unrecognizable after his fights.
Yeah,
Even his leg got attacked.
Yep,
in that
yep,
fight
yep.
Too.
it's disgusting. It looked like he
Oh
had a
my
balloon
God.
in his shin.
And that's the thing, the
Did someone get their
damage.
shin broken recently on a shin kick?
It might have been that one, but Rory McDonald's shin. I just remember it looked
Google
like he had
that.
shin guards on.
This guy just kept peppering the leg. And Rory still
Low
won.
leg kick, low calf kick,
And-
and he just kept attacking and it just swelled up.
Kim, that's the Korean zombie, right? He didn't even
No,
have.
that's Chan Sung Jung's the Korean zombie.
Okay.
Don Young Kim's the welterweight.
Okay, which one was the one that had the fight of the year? Where it was like just this rock and sock 'em?
I was there for that fight. I was in Canada live. Doo-Hoo Choi, that's who it was. He fought
Okay.
Cub Swanson.
Yeah, and they just
That was
they were
fun.
both just it looked like the Rocky fight.
Yeah, it was the most insane fight I think I've ever seen. I was there live. The crowd was going nuts. The whole building felt like it was shaking. It was just insane.
Like that Forrest, what was it, Forrest Griffin?
Yeah, Stephen Bonner.
Woo!
Oh, it was Mark Hunt. They thought Mark Hunt broke his tibia.
Oh yeah, that was gross.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
didn't break, though.
No, there's been a couple gruesome
Definitely broke his
injuries.
spirit.
And
though.
now Ronda's going to the WWE.
Yeah.
She's got a long-term
Got
contract.
paid.
She's been talking about it ever since she joined the
Marries
done
Travis
MMA
Brown.
though, so
Yeah.
it's great. It's good for her that it's not like a move that she all of a sudden did, but she's always
Yeah.
loved WWE. So it's
Well,
kinda
she
cool
was
to see her.
mentored by Roddy Piper for quite a long time to get ready for this, and then they signed her 6 months ago, and they've kept it under wraps for 6 months, developing her so they could put her into a major match at WrestleMania right away.
Yep.
I always
If you-
thought Brock Lesnar was an interesting athlete, interesting fighter coming from the WWE to the
Yep.
Yeah,
octagon. Very dominant.
very dominant. Yeah,
Yep. High
Well, you're
school.
talking about a world-class wrestler.
high school wrestler, collegiate, and then he played for the Minnesota
also on
Vikings.
roids. That helps.
Yeah, loves his performance enhancers.
yeah. It's no secret, but
Well, let's be honest. The dude walked on the Minnesota Vikings and
Yep.
got cut at the very last second.
Yep.
Like, damn near made the team with zero football experience because he's that much of a freak of nature as an athlete.
I think if you look at his combine scores, they're like up there with the people that he was competing with.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes even better. Like I'm pretty sure his 40 was a 4.6 or
Wow.
4.7.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fast. And his high jump was like 30-something inches.
Well, I was going to say his high jump has to be high because he jumps to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
He just
Yeah.
2-footed jumps onto the ring, and the ring is a solid almost 3 feet high.
Yeah, he has a very high jump.
Yeah.
And his broad jump, I'm shooting these numbers off the top of my head. His broad jump is 10 feet.
No.
Yeah, and he's big. It's 10 feet.
can move.
You can Google it. I'll Google it right now.
He's a big guy that can move.
That's farm strong, but that's what it is, man. You're hucking all that hay and doing all that all your whole life.
Yep.
You build some incredible explosiveness.
Mm-hmm.
We had some farm boys that would come on our football team, and we'd have to do strict pull-ups, and they would do wide grip strict pull-ups. They'd bust out like 50 strict wide grip pull-ups.
Corn-fed.
And it was like they weren't good football players. They were just ridiculously strong.
His 40-yard dash was 4.7. Vertical jump was 35 inches. Standing long jump, 10 feet, 0 inches. And 225 bench press, 30 reps.
Oh, my God.
And the record's 51.
Yeah, see, 30, that's nothing these days. Those guys
6'2", 285 pounds.
Well, when you think about the fact he was being recruited as a defensive lineman,
He was even heavier than 280.
and it's offensive linemen that generally have the best bench press because they have to be able to hold guys off forever. That's like 30 for a defensive lineman back in the 90s, early 2000s.
That's a lot.
In the early 2000s, that's a big bench.
And he was trying to be a defensive tackle. And the average score for defensive tackles on the dash was 5.13. So he is way more explosive
These
and
days,
quick.
you've got smaller
believe it
position
dropped him.
players like receivers and corners, even safeties, the linebackers, that they put up that 30 rep mark. And then you look at your D linemen and your O linemen, guys are pushing 50 reps easy.
But you got to think about it too. Back then, the bench press technique was different.
Mm-hmm.
The science of the bench press has completely changed. The addition of something like the slingshot is allowing guys to get so much more volume and being able to handle doing 50 reps, where 30 back then was incredible.
Mark Bell was just at Cal Strength with Dave Spitz because he had his NFL combine athletes, and all those guys got to use slingshots and listen to the people's coach. And I mean, going back to recovery, I mean, his biggest thing that he pitched to those football players was 8 hours minimum every night. If you're not, you're cheating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Get your sleep, people. Get that sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, even the coaches at OPEX, they really stress sleep. You know, temperature controlled room.
Yeah, we're talking about recovery here.
No
now.
light gets in. You know, it's
Don't get me started with OPEX. No more shouts out OPEX.
Shouts out Fitbot, aka OPEX. No,
I just
it's
downloaded
funny
the
because they
trainer toolkit.
compared Lesnar's combine scores to J.J. Watt's, and they were identical. Yeah, identical. Crazy.
J.J. Watt's a workhorse, too. That guy. Woo! You want to talk about a guy that doesn't know how to slow
A
down.
guy that can rupture his back or blow out a knee, and he's in surgery the same day and recovering the next day.
What was that one fighter that was on the Ultimate Fighter? The big, huge black dude that did the backyard fights.
Oh, Kimbo?
Kimbo.
He's not
I had
even
high
alive
expectations for
anymore.
him.
That guy couldn't fight. He was fighting normal men.
I know.
He died of heart attack. Didn't
Yeah, I
he?
know.
Yeah.
His heart just stopped working.
All right, guys. So we had a kind of crazy talk today, man. This thing we got a two-parter on our hands, Kai.
That's awesome.
That's the first time I think we've done that ever. We're going to have a two-part podcast we're going to have to drop here.
Cool. Skip next week.
We didn't even talk about the Open.
We don't need to talk about that one.
Yeah. And we're
Open's going to already be going on by the time this drops.
6-month anniversary.
Oh, yeah, 6-month anniversary tomorrow.
What?
Brittany wants to come in tomorrow if we can record tomorrow instead of next week. And then we can take a couple
Who's the
weeks off.
6-month anniversary?
Tomorrow's our 6-month anniversary.
This podcast?
Yeah.
Maybe-
6 months ago?
Maybe we
That's
could
awesome.
do like a cake
Brittany.
with like
Yeah.
a candle.
Brittany has
Oh, what's she going to talk
That's
about?
awesome.
hair and being a competitive
And
athlete.
how the right haircut can give you the right amount of aerodynamics
Exactly.
and increase your 1 mile run.
Exactly.
Yep.
I like it.
So yeah, thanks for being on the 6-month episode, man.
Thank you
To
very
think
much.
6 months ago we were sitting at that front desk, not testing any mics and just going to town on.
I think we
A
did pretty
completely
good.
inaudible
Hey, we got
episode.
sound. We got sound.
And we were what? Weren't we 3 guys with 2 mics?
Yeah,
guys, 2
that's
mics.
right. That was our original name. Was 3 guys, 2 mics. We only had 2 mics at the time.
Fuck yeah.
That's awesome.
So we've come quite a ways from 3 guys, 2 mics to having professional fighters on our show and professional baseball players on our show.
Nice.
With the proper amount of mics and a producer.
Yep.
Multiple cameras.
That actually makes this shit sound good.
By the time we kick off the next one, Ryan will be down in spring training for the Giants.
Yep. Now we have just as many cameras as we had mics back then.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Cool. Sign out.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming in.
Hey, how can people find you, follow you?
Yeah.
I followed you earlier today.
Yeah, I need to do it.
On Instagram, it's KHAI _ the shadow
The shadows in
_ WU. And then if you just go on Facebook, I have an athlete page. You guys just give that a like. It's just Khai Wu. You just find that.
Yep.
Yeah, KHAI. The H was silent for some reason.
Shout out to his gym in Pleasanton.
Yeah, Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu, Omni Movement.
Keeping him sound.
Yeah. And always got to love my sponsors. Dynasty
Shout 'em
MMA and Me Audio. Man, they take good care of me.
About who's Zinco?
Zenko Nutrition. They're new too. My newest sponsor. They do supplements, nootropics. Nice. That's what they're into.
Okay. Hey,
you ever had Alpha Brain?
If they want us to test anything.
That's very similar. You know what?
I'd love to try
bring you guys some Zenko next time.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Man, we're in. We'll try it on the show.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys, so much. We're out of here. Hope you enjoyed that 2-parter with Khai the Shadow Wu. We're looking forward to his next fight in July in Taiwan, so keep an eye out for that. We out. CFT out.
Peace.